David Nicholas. Second that, Bob Powell.
Any discussion? Ready for the question?
Budget.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Are there any conflict of interest for disclosure this evening? Move on now to number 5, consideration of the 2024 budget. I will now turn the floor over to staff member Don Fitzgerald, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to take this opportunity to make a few opening comments with respect to the process that we'll go through this evening. I want to take this opportunity because there are some differences between how we deal with Regional Service Commission budgets and how we deal with your municipal budgets. And we've seen it already in the fact that we've had to have a 45-day standstill period. And tonight, you all vote on a number of motions, and they have different voting majorities that are required. So I'll take some time to deal with that. So we'll begin this evening with Director Corey, as Chair of the Finance Committee, will make a motion to adopt a budget that the board distributed 45 days ago. And during the discussion of that budget, we may have a motion to amend that motion be offered. And a motion to amend a motion falls in the category of a subsidiary motion, and we kind of stand still and we deal with it first. And there are a number of things that can happen there. The motion to amend may be defeated, in which case we continue on with the motion that was offered. The motion to amend may be passed, and if that happens, it modifies the motion that was previously on the floor. Excuse me, and we'll put that up on the screen. If that happens, we'll let you know so that we're all sort of on tap with what it is we're considering. We'll try and keep that clear for you. It takes a simple majority to approve that amendment. So it's a standard vote the way that we're used to it. However, when we deal with our actual budget motion, that requires 2/3 of the members who are present here this evening to vote in support. And those directors must represent more than 50% of the population represented around the table here this evening. Once we have a budget, we'll then move on to things that flow out of the budget. Borrowing, we have a borrowing motion, and we also have a motion to set a fee. Those motions require a 2/3 majority of our weighted votes. Now, we've not had an opportunity to have our weighted votes yet, but early on we talked about weighted voting. Different communities have different number of ballots to cast, and that's based on your population. So, Madam Chair, that's the process that we'll go through. And to kick it all off, might be appropriate for Director Corey to make his motion at this time.
Please.
I move that the board approve a total operating budget for the Capital Region Service Commission for the 2024 calendar year, consisting of total revenue of $18,518,477 and total expenditures of $18,518,477, and that the capital budget consists of a total expenditures of $3,062,000 as detailed in the budget information circulated previously and presented to the board on September 7th, 2023, and subsequently forwarded to the member communities that are municipalities or rural communities, and to the minister in accordance with Section 28 of the Regional Service Delivery Act on September 8th, 2023.
Second by Dave Morrison.
Okay, we'll go discussion, and I'm going to start with you, Director Corey, and then we'll work our way around the table. So now is the time. If you have any comments to make, this is the time. No, okay.
No, I have no further comment on what we had on September the 8th. It was a lot of comment, and it was fairly hefty increase, and I do agree with that, not agree with that hefty increase.
Are we going to be commenting on the amendment after?
So,
That's if someone brings it forward.
Someone brings it forward,
Someone has to bring it to the table.
but we'll have an opportunity if somebody brings it forward to come.
You'll have an opportunity to discuss it.
Okay,
Yes,
I have nothing right now.
okay. Any comments?
All right now.
Okay, and I'm gonna go to the screen, and I do believe we have Deputy Mayor Mike Richardson.
Yes, how are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good. I'm here representing Kevin. Kevin was busy tonight, so.
Yes. Do you have any
do you want-
comments at this time?
Yeah, just we had talked about it briefly here just a while ago. He had some concerns on some of the members not paying their equal share on this, so he did make that comment to me. So basically, that's all that he filled me in. He had time to fill me in on, so.
Thank you. And Mayor Tim Fox,
No comments right now.
thank you. Okay, all right,
No questions.
no questions.
No question.
Dr. Tabor?
No comment.
No comment. Okay. Will I go back and let her?
go ahead, Kate, and then she's-
Director Kate Rogers? Do you have any comments? We've already passed the motion on the floor and we seconded and the original motion, and now everyone's had a chance to add their comments about the budget. Both the motion that's on the floor.
Okay, no, I do have comments. Yeah.
You do have comments on this motion. Did you say yes?
Yes, it's for the budget itself, yeah, so for the amended motion.
It's for the budget itself, the first motion.
Everything, the first motion was for the amended motion of the changes that were done. With the reduction, I was thinking that was the first motion, so.
No, it's the
That's
main
why-
motion. No one's brought forward the amended motion.
Okay. Yeah, I do, I guess, I guess I have more questions than I do. A lot of it's just questions as opposed to comments. Is this an opportunity that we can ask questions about the budget?
Yes,
Gosh, a lot happened in 5 minutes. You guys are a chatty bunch. So I just, I know that the city, of course, brought forward a motion to make some changes sort of to administrative costs and back-end costs and all of that, and it was distributed.
if I might, Madam Chair, there's been no amendment motion offered.
Nobody's brought it forward.
Nobody's brought it forward. I believe it's incumbent on you, the representative of Fredericton, who submitted a notice of motion. If you wish to make an amendment to the motion that's on the floor, this would be the time to do it.
My understanding is that that motion was already made, and the result of that was to approach it differently as to how it was done.
No.
No,
Madam Chair, if I could, there's been no motion to change the budget in any way offered to this point. What has happened is Director Corey has made the budget motion that reflects the budget that the board distributed in September. City of Fredericton provided written notice of an amendment,
Yes.
prior written notice, but that amendment hasn't been offered yet. The proper process would be for you to offer it now.
Correct, but my understanding was that staff in receiving that written notice then made other changes, alterations to some of it address what was done.
Well, that's incorrect. If you have an amending motion to make, this would be the time.
yes.
Is that the amendment?
That in order, I think Lonnie just handed you.
Yes, no,
I think if you wanted to, so right now we've went around, and we've discussed. The motion was taken on the original budget. At this point, it would be probably appropriate to make the amending motion, which is amending motion 1, which reflects what was received by the city of Fredericton in terms of what was proposed. And then that would allow for the to call for the question on that motion. And that would open up the floor to
Sorry, and I guess I'm receiving different information, so yes, I will do that.
I hope that clarifies.
It's very different from what I understood, but I think this is what happens when you have changing representation at each meeting potentially. So it's different than how I understood that what had occurred, but I will make that amendment just to follow through on that.
You may do it so now.
Okay.
You have to read it.
Okay, I move to amend the motion to strike out the phrase consisting of total revenue of 18,518,477 and total expenditures of $18,518,477 and insert in its place the phrase consisting of total revenue of $18,236,550 and total expenses of $18,236,550 by limiting number of contributions to no more than 2023 amounts plus CPI and or previously contractually agreed upon increases. As related to the mandated services and funds associated with cooperative and regional planning, and further inserting and discussed and reviewed again on October 3rd, 2023, and redistributed October 4th, 2023. Immediately following the phrase in accordance with section 28 of the Regional Service Delivery Act on September 8th, 2020.
Do I have a seconder?
Second, David, listen.
If I might, Madam Chair, I process, make a comment on the process.
Yes, we are going to discussion, but we had made some comments before you arrived. And I would ask staff member Don to bring those forward again.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the motion that is on the floor now is the amending motion. It falls in that category of subsidiary motions. It is debatable, but the only debate that can happen on this time is on the merits of the amendment. So no strenuous discussion. Also, as with any rule of debate, members may vote against a motion that they make, but they may not speak against it.
Okay, and since you brought the motion forward, we will go for discussion and I'll start with you, Director Rogers, and then we'll go around the table.
Okay, thank you. So the rationalization for this essentially was just the sense that there are some costs within the budget, the allotment of the costs, the allotment of the administration, the administrative and the back office fees, as well as the section on cooperative and regional planning services fund. I think there's just some confusion about how the administrative costs have been assigned to the varying budget lines. I'm just thinking that there was a better way to do that, and one that they're too much, that they should be in line with what's out, what's later in the motion. So that was the rationalization. I know that since that was made, though, that there have been changes made to the budget, so because our later budget reflected different amounts than what we had prior to this amendment. So I think some of that work has been done.
There've been, sorry.
Yes, please.
There would have been the reductions and the year-over-year charges. Director Rogers, and through Madam Chair to Director Rogers, would be the same outcome overall. But we still have allocations within cooperative and regional planning to reflect a more accurate professional accounting of the amounts that are required for each of the new mandated services.
So that was precisely the purpose of the amendment, is that they just be assigned differently as opposed to this approach that they be assigned differently. And there's confusion over what the cooperative and regional planning services, exactly what that is, the detail of that. I know it's not actual planning as we think in terms of community planning. It is what kind of planning, like what are we talking about when we're referencing that?
Yes.
So there just with some confusion, we thought there was a better way to more transparently reflect. The administrative costs. So that was the rationale. That's the rationale.
Anything further?
No.
Okay, then I'll go around the table again. This is a discussion on the amending motion.
No comment.
Okay, as you know, I'm not a fan of the promise downloading all the mandated services, but as we all know, that ship has sailed, so we have the mandated services we have to deal with. Handbook Council discussed the original budget and the proposed budget quite extensively. With all the mandated services and the associated costs, it would be difficult and not impossible for us to only increase the budget by inflation. Economic development and tourism have a whole team working on the implementation. An extremely heavy lift is the community development portion that has been mandated to us, which includes homelessness, poverty reduction, affordable housing, mental health, newcomer settlement, food security, and so on. This is an extremely heavy lift, and from the amendment, what our financial officers put forward is to cut the cost of that coordinator, cut that salary position, which I don't think is right myself, because I think with all the goings on with that community development, it can't fall on the regular staff that are already fully engaged. I think they really need a coordinator on that, and cut that salary, I don't think is fair. Anyway, for these reasons, Hamel does not support the amendment, and I will be voting for the original budget.
Thank you.
I spoke about the stuff that was downloaded from us from the government. They haven't been able to do it for 25, 30 years. And they expect we're going to try and do it in a year. That's just not logical. As far as I'm concerned, the common sense, I would sooner see us go after 2 or 3 or of the doable things that can be than that whole aspect of trying to do all 5. And the government hasn't been able to do it for 30 years. They're dropping on us. Or more than 30 years to be trying. So I do like the reduction of the budget aspect, but I still would like to see us pick a couple and get them done. Then do 5 that you can't do, bang your head against the wall, because you're gonna have, they've been banging their heads against the wall for 30 years. So this takes some look at what happened from them, bring it to us, and now they're dropping salt on the table. And the homelessness and everything else in the community, it affects a couple of areas here. And then they're gonna have to, almost it's incumbent on them to do it. Because it's in their city and towns, right? So I'm kind of for the emotion.
You'll go to Deputy Mayor Mike Richardson, please. Do you have any comments? And this is on the amended motion.
Yeah, just in my discussions with Mayor Nicklin, at this time, we're not going to be supporting the amended motion. There is some concerns about some of the members paying their appropriate share. He had expressed that to me. So I guess that's my only comment at this time.
Thank you. And Mayor Tim Fox.
I guess I have a question, and it might relate to the amending motion and or to the original motion. We received word that there are new allocations for 2024 for the Regional Services Support Fund. Will those new allocations impact the budget in any way, whether it be by the amending motion or by the original?
Thank you, Madam Chair. To you, Director Fox, not at this time. That fund, as you know, is a 50-50 cost share matching fund. And what we'd be looking to do there is build those work plans to Director Forsyth's piece, develop those key areas where the board wants to review, and then bring forward a budget process in which we could maximize that funding. So I think, you know, in terms of the motion here this evening and to the other, to the main motion on the budget, it would not have an effect on the immediately, but we can carry that funding through. It's a little over 500,000. And we can carry that funding forward for 3 years. So to be for future implementation. And it would, in terms of be able to do that, and at that point, we may understand more of what is being offered through the province when we do develop those business plans to be able to help offset some of that cost. So,
just as a follow-up, am I incorrect that allocation is higher than what was projected in the budget?
that allocation would be higher than what's projected. Yes, it was
Right.
469, and then it's 19. Yeah, it's a little, yeah. So 19 or 1.9, sorry.
Right, so I guess my interest would be in using that to reduce the contributions that at least our community, so I'm not entirely in favor of either motion at this point.
Thank you. And Director David Hayward. Nothing. So we've gone around the table and everyone's had. Oh. Oh, it's Director Powell. Said he wanted to.
Agrees with the amending motion. But we would like to see more transparency in the motions of, or not the motions, but the transportation and homelessness. We're gonna get funds in there. We'd like to see where they're going and what we're gonna do with it. And that should be coming from the government. They should be guiding us. And we shouldn't, if we have a lump sum we pay into that, it's like buying insurance when you're not, the insurance man says, well, I can't tell you what you're gonna get for insurance, but you got this, but to pay. I'd like to know what our mandate is gonna be for homelessness and for active transportation. So I just want more transparency so we know where our money is actually going. And like I said, and we need some guidance from the province because we don't know what they're thinking. So how can we develop something unless they just want us to develop something for them? And that's my comment.
Okay, next. Okay, now we've gone around the table. Everyone has had a chance to offer their comments. So now I will ask, are you ready for the question?
And I can clarify, it's only on the amending motion, not in the original motion.
I will clarify that.
Okay.
Yes. Ready for the question? We've been discussing the amending motion. Ready for the question on the amending motion?
Aye.
No question.
Question.
Now we're going to the vote. Kelly, please.
Director Pleadwell.
Nay.
Director Duplessis.
I vote in favor of the amended motion.
Director Richardson.
No mute.
Yeah, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Nay.
Nay, great, thank you. Director Morrison,
Nay.
Director Corey,
I'll vote in favor of the motion,
The amending motion.
the amending. motion.
Okay, yes.
Director Fox,
Nay.
Director Sweeney,
Yes.
Director Powell,
Yes.
Director Hayward,
Yes.
Director Hart,
Yes, I amended.
Director Mowry,
Yes.
Director Wilson Chief,
Nay.
Director Rogers. And Director Forsyth.
Yes.
Yes.
So the amending motion has passed. So we will not be going back to the original motion.
That's correct, Madam Chair, and so it's worthy of a moment to share with the directors what the new motion looks like. And Kelly, I believe you can bring that up on the screen now. So rather than the motion that Director Corey read at the beginning, you are now considering this motion, which says that the board approve a total operating budget for the Capital Region Service Commission for the 2024 year, consisting of total revenue of $18,236,550 and expenditures of the same amount, and that limits members' contribution to no more than the 2023 amounts plus CPI and or previously contractually agreed upon increases as related to the new management services and funds associated with cooperative and regional planning. And that the capital budget consists of $3,062,000. There's no change there. As detailed in the budget information circulated previously and presented to the board on September 7th and subsequently forwarded to the minister in accordance with section 28 on April 26th and discussed and reviewed again on October 3rd, 2023 and redistributed on October 4th, 2023. So that's your amendment motion. It's for the lower amount. And it makes the additions and deletions that were called for in the amending motion. And so that's your discussion now, Madam Chair.
Okay, so we have to discuss the amending motion again?
No,
No, it's.
this is the motion that's on the floor. And it needs not be offered or seconded. It's already on the table.
Sorry, on the table. So,
And so now we would discuss that motion.
okay, so we'll go back and we'll discuss the amending motion, right?
This motion, the amended motion, the revised
The
motion.
revised, okay. Everybody's heard the revised?
Did we not vote on the amended motion?
Yes, we did.
This is what we're doing. We
That was
already
to
voted.
allow it.
Pardon me?
The first vote was just to allow it to be put forth.
Oh,
Okay,
That's why it was a simple majority.
so we'll start with you again, Director Rogers, with the revised motion for discussion.
Yeah, I'm just gathering my notes. Do we need to start with me? Do we need to start with me? Or did I need to start here?
Okay, we will move on, but
Okay.
I just gotta say, it's very important to come really and be organized when we're doing this. So we will carry on next, please. No comment.
no comment.
My comments are, first of all, as I said, I agree with that, but my concern is that we're using, instead of looking at the budget items, we did look at some of them, and we made some comments about some, but using CPI as a way of modifying the budget seems to make some sense that we want to say it. But the reality is, we're not thinking about the areas that we're cutting and adjusting and when we're moving the money around. And I would say that in future discussions, even though I'm supportive of the current amendment, in future discussions, we should stay away from amendments or motions like that and look at the details and get at them rather than, because if we do CPI for forever, we go out of business. Because all of our costs will go up by CPI. So if we keep doing that every year, that's the end. We keep walking along every day and we don't do anything. So for this year, I'm content with that model, but in another year, I would say we have to be very careful when we're looking at the detail of if something wasn't planned well, something didn't get in the budget the way it should have, something should be taken out, then that's what we should be looking at. Yeah.
Is this the time to ask for clarity when we were around the table before from one comment to another?
Questions are appropriate.
Questions?
I would like to ask the deputy mayor from Grand Lake if he would explain to me how each member is not contributing their fair share. I'm confused.
Yeah, I think Mayor Nicklin had some concerns. Like I said, I just talked to him briefly about it He did say that he felt that, like I said, that's what he basically said to me, that there doesn't seem to be, each member's paying, for some of the services some people get and some of the services that we don't have. So basically, that's what he had told me about, not each member, but one particular member not paying their fair share. That's what he felt. So
Who's dog?
I'm still not clear on it. I don't know if Don or John could add to that, or I thought we all shared equally according to our population and tax base.
So, the costs are, in the budget have been shared according to the provincial formulas. I think it sounds to me like, Deputy Mayor Richardson is in kind of a tough spot to explain Mayor Nicklin's thinking. And that, that question might be more properly put to him. But
I would agree with that, Mr. Chair. I would agree with that.
I second.
I'm kind of been thrown in the fire here at the last minute, so I apologize.
No, that's okay. Yeah,
Shoot the messenger.
okay. We'll move on.
No further comment.
Director,
No, I said my piece.
okay, and now, Director Richardson, do you have anything to add on the revised motion?
No, I have no further comments. Thank you.
Thank you. And Director Kim Fox.
Yes, is there any way we can get that amended motion back up on the screen,
Absolutely.
just for a moment?
The revised motion.
So with this amended motion, we're projecting total revenue of 18,236,550. If our allocation for Regional Services Support Fund has been increased, doesn't that put us in a position for a reduction and pretty much automatically to the contributions of the member communities?
Yes.
Madam Chair, through you to Director Fox. It's based on the level of investment from the member communities. And that would be how it would be distributed and through. So as we develop our plans, as I don't point anyone out, but Director Forsyth had said earlier, we develop a plan and we put those work plans together. We do know that, most of the committees are in that work period now. I know that, in terms of the infrastructure, for example, and the things that we're looking at there, as those plans get developed and we make those proposals move, as we move them forward, the investments that we put in will be matched 50-50. And we'll be able to access that further funding within that envelope. And we may even be able to find other source funding with other partners, whether it be the provincial or federal government.
But I guess if we're increasing, I guess I'm missing something, because if we're increasing the allocation we're getting through the Regional Services Support Fund, and we're projecting that we're going to cap this revenue at 18,236,550, is there not some extra money in the mix here somewhere? Like, because we have an allocation that's higher than what we had projected in the original budget. So either I'm missing something, or my head is thick from a long day or something, because I just don't see how those two things add up. And furthermore, I guess to make my point is that, as one of the smaller tax-based communities, we're looking for every way possible to keep as much money in our community as we can. And we support the services through the Service Commission, but we want to do it. We want to look after our community first, and that's the premise that I'm coming from. We're in the budget process right now as well, And I'll tell you, it's not easy, especially when you got a small tax base.
Madam
Anyway,
Chair, if I might, with respect to Director Fox's statement, there is extra money available from the Regional Support Fund, but it's matching money. So to access that money, we would actually have to increase the cost to the members. So to get 500,000, you'd have to put up 500,000. So your budget would grow. So it's actually the reverse of a grant, right? A grant is money that you get in and it lowers the amount of money that you have. This is not a grant. These are matching funds. And so it costs you $1 for every dollar you access. So to access that money, Director Fox, through you, Madam Chair, to access that money, it would cost you money. your
so in
budget would go
effect,
up.
we're projecting not to spend. I guess basically our budget's not gonna spend that entire allocation.
That's correct.
Yeah, and Madam Chair, if I may, through you to the director, that's correct. But don't forget, the Director Fox, as I said earlier, that's available for a carryover of up to 3 years. So we can use that in future investments. We can use that as we look to develop those work plans and the priority setting by the board in moving forward.
Anything further, Director Fox?
Nope, not at this time.
Thank you. Director Hayward?
No, I guess I'm okay with it.
Director
Coming up,
Rogers.
thank you. I guess so. My council's spent a long time actually talking about this budget, given that it's not, we're all in our own busy budget seasons, but we spent a good chunk of Monday night talking about regional services budget. And I think that really what came out of it, we appreciate, I know we're all paying different amounts, and I think overall we're okay with the contribution. I don't want to make it seem like it comes easy to us, because like all of you, it's every cent that we spend is tax dollars from our residents. So, but given the formula and everything, we can be comfortable with it. I think our discomfort comes with maybe lack of detail in some areas, so from my reading, and these budgets are different than budgets that I'm accustomed to, but it's an additional about $600,000. Am I right? Can I ask that question? And then
I'll ask Mary Kay to comment on
is it around
that. Sorry.
600? Yes, so that was our it's about, if this budget is about $600,000 more, and we went through almost, on my line, we can't fully figure out, are we getting $600,000 more in value? And because some of it, we don't understand the detail of all of it, certainly, and that's above and beyond. I'm not talking about the economic development and the tourism, that's above and beyond those mandated services. So, and we don't fully understand what our residents of our entire region are getting for that amount. So a lot of my councilors just felt they had more questions than they felt they had answers. I mean, this one that came up was what's the service commission spending $47,000 on and for public safety? We don't deliver any public safety services, right? I mean, we don't. We all our own communities deliver those services, but the regional service commission doesn't deliver those services. Even the community development mandate, the cost allocated to that. I mean, that our community development committee has no idea what we're going to be spending any of our money on, and we haven't. The province is saying they're going to be downloading social services, but they haven't done any of that yet. None of those services are being required of the regional service commission right now. So it seems like a lot of numbers when we went through the budget. There are a lot of costs that are allocated for items that I don't know how it is that we're spending them. So I know when I spend Fredericton taxpayer dollars, I've got to go down to a pretty granular detail. Like, so if a resident says, what's that for? I've got to be able to say what it's for. And I don't know that we can do that with this budget. I know that my staff has reached out to staff here to get that kind of information. There's just not a feeling that we have that kind of information we need to support the level of increase in this budget. So my council's directed me to vote against the budget. So
I'll ask Mary Kay to come up to the podium, please.
Madam Chair. So staff prepared a one pager for the directors, and John circulated that last week, breaking down what's included in that $600,000 increase. So I'll just go through that for you now. The $392,000, that was additional staff costs. Now that's not additional staff. That is a reallocation of people's time to where they're actually spending on it. So when the 2023 budget was drafted, we had no idea what staff were going to be focusing on. So the way that salaries were allocated were kept status quo. Well, in that, I'll just take Brett, for instance, before we pick on you, Brett, but Brett's taken on a new role in the organization. He's not solely focused on solid waste anymore. He's doing community development, doing regional transportation. So his salary is no longer included just for solid waste. We allocated a portion that he spends on solid waste back to solid waste, but it's also going to be charged out to the funds that he's spending his time on. Similar with me, when the 2023 budget was prepared, my financial staff, we didn't expect to be spending much time on these services. Or were we wrong? So now, whereas in 2023, 10% of our salaries and benefits and were allocated to planning and development, 90% to solid waste. That's not where our time's being spent anymore. So now we've allocated our salaries, sprinkling it out across all the services, because that's where we're spending our time and that's the drivers of the cost. So that's really what we've done for all the corporate services. 2023, not an ideal year to base your 2024 budget on. 2024 is more realistic because we've had 8 months under our belt to see where the drivers are for the cost, where we're spending our time. And that's what we've done with this 2024 budget, is allocate the cost based on where the time being spent and the resources that we need.
So even when you say Brett's doing community development, what community development, what community development are you doing? Like, I don't even know what that means here. I don't know if any of us could say what that is.
Sure. So, I'm actually working on transportation. Transportation. Yeah, that's right, and solid waste.
And how many staff do you have?
Just the two, included
In this budget, just 2 additional staff.
2 additional staff. We did have the third, but that's been removed basically.
And so the public safety work, the additional work, the public safety work that would be done, I guess that's a kind of, so is it? What does that entail? You do be working with? Like, because we're not delivering public safety, right? I understand that, so I don't. So it seems like we're paying a lot when we're not actually delivering services here. That's like, this isn't work that's going towards the delivery of particular services.
No, that money was, again, sorry, Madam Chair, but the cost associated with that, and we presented a sort of a detailed breakdown of that at a high level. It does involve a lot of coordination, a lot of facilitation right now. The whole idea behind the establishment of public safety was to bring all of the various groups, firefighters, associations, ambulance, New Brunswick. There's a list of about 10 groups that were identified in the guidelines by the province. We established that committee and coordinate all of those. We've got advisory forums and then regular meetings on top of that. The bulk of that cost is corporate allocation, but there's also ongoing administration cost. So it's broken down that way, and I think we can provide more detail if you want to.
Yeah, so that's the biggest chunk, 392 to 600,000, and you've got increased board expenses of 27,000. Professional services increased 75,000. That would reflect what the actual amount that we're spending on IT services is. And it also allows for some efficiencies in our accounting systems as we've grown to get better in that area. Office rent, we've got additional office space for 15,000. Regional planning for 30,000, and that is to further develop the strategic plan and implementation guide. And then you've got your CPI adjustments to your floors and contract as well as tracking development. So that's where the 600,000 comes from.
So I did see, I mean, we didn't see this, I think it still posed more questions than answers. Again, the additional, I think a lot of it really was the additional investment in the staff, a lot of the staff costs.
Yeah,
I'm just wondering what the deliverables will be on that.
I think the breakdown is, you're looking at 2023 as your base year, when in reality, it's not an appropriate base year because the costs weren't allocated properly in 2023 budget. You know what I'm saying
Yes.
there? Yeah. So to base it off 2023, you're seeing a big increase line to line, but that's why on the whole, it's kept to CPI as 4%. It's gonna be difficult to do it based on the budgets. Allocated costs appropriately.
May I ask two more questions for you about one, is that okay? Can I ask two others? One is about community development, the allotment of money, so what would we imagine? I know that there was also a new number, but I don't know if we're working with the number that was sent here, or if we're back working with the other budgeted number, but I'll say the community development number. Can that be explained what that is, Simon?
So, Madam Chair, I think that question, might come to me as I'm the senior staff person on the, community development side of things. And, I'll remind the board that, we have, a strategic plan. And it has an implementation guide, and that implementation guide lists certain, targets for, near term, medium term, and long term. That implementation guide isn't an implementation plan. It isn't a roadmap for how we get there. And it will take money to develop that, and not only in time, but in terms of outside resources to assist and to bring that together. I would again remind the board that the time granted to this board by the province to develop its strategic plan was really short. People don't do strategic plans in that amount of time, but we did meet the legislative deadline, and candidly, there are holes in it because of that. And so it's going to take more money to develop that. So that's what that money's for.
You have one more question?
Yeah, it was, yeah, I just in general, the local, sorry. The regional, the cooperative and regional planning services fund. For $371,000. What is?
71,000?
No, it's 300.
Oh, yeah.
It's $371. If we could just articulate the balance, please.
That's the water service allocation again. And like I said, that's the allocation that staff is spending time on, as well as the administration cost of the organization. So in 2023, we only had a small amount of the senior staff time in there. They're spending a lot more time bringing the board together, working on regional projects. And so that's why the increase in the staff time. So it's reflected in there now. Increase question.
And so we are continuing to Regional Service Commissioner with the dual leadership of the executive director and the CEO. That is going to continue. Because I just remember the discussions last year, budget time, was that there was a concern, and any of us who were around the table last year, was at the 2023 budget, granted, long before we embarked on this. But I know that there was discussion about whether or not we felt that we needed 2 senior positions. I guess I'm looking at those who I knew were around. And I'm not making a judgment on that now. I'm just simply saying, I think there was a strong feeling before we entered this year that we didn't understand how we would need both. And I guess I'm wondering if,
There's a history behind that. If you recall, when we went into the budget last year, at the last minute, that question was asked many times, the facilitator told us, there was a contract signed, because staff member Don stepped aside and he became a facilitator. Then, remember, we had the contract and he signed the contract that he was able to come back to his job January the 1st.
yes. Yeah,
So
no,
that's,
I recall that, and I recall that's why for 2023. And then the end of that discussion was just moving forward, would we be having discussions? So I was expecting some sort of an HR, and I think an HR analysis has been done. I don't believe it's been shared with the board as of yet.
We offer to, excuse me, Madam Chair, through you to Director Rogers. We offer to provide briefings on that HR review. We did not distribute the HR review because there was information contained within that would perhaps identify individuals or individual staff members, because it was a fulsome interview process as well. And so we have distributed an executive summary of the HR review and offered in-person briefings with myself and the consultant if required or requested. And I had not received any requests on that. We were very transparent. We had the consultant come make the presentation. The consultant recommended 3 to 5 positions to help incorporate and bring forward the resources on that. And I have to remind the board, I'm not trying to be flippant or smart or anything else. Staffing is under my purview. I take my direction from the board and I do the staffing allocations as we need. And I work within the budget that's provided by the board to do so. I have to say, in all fairness, I value experience and leadership and knowledge. And I value that when it's around the table. And trying to bring in these mandated services. We have to understand this is going to be a big lift. As Director Morrison said earlier, these are big lifts in terms of what they potentially could mean to the region. And I think, and very importantly, what we need is to ensure that we have good, solid, steady leadership at the helm. And what I'm doing is out there, in all fairness, Director Rogers, not to try to defend what I'm doing, but we're utilizing the staff. We're utilizing, when you see the corporate and corporate or the cooperative regional planning, we're allocating those individuals in there, the people that we had existing in the organization, so that we don't go over budget, we don't break the budget. And what we do is we try to bring in the best possible recommendations to the board. I can say in working with Director Cleveland on the infrastructure, I'm the senior lead on that. We're looking at all kinds of kind of very interesting things that are coming forward. I hope you don't mind me, Director Cleveland as chair. But we're looking at that. We've done our asset mapping, which was in our plan. We're looking at that and how that can help benefit in the region. We want to work with Capital Region Tourism to promote that further. So those assets would have links to the program and the services available in those assets and or contact names and numbers. And where that's driving out of is that comes from part of the community, and part of what you and I sit on together, Mayor Rogers, in terms of physician recruitment and retention, because people are wondering where are those assets, what do they look like, how do they do? And we get that from newcomers that are coming into the region through our economic development agency with Ignite and those contracts. And I think from a tourism perspective, it'll be very valuable as well. Because, you know, people are coming into town, we want them to understand the benefit that they're getting. So I spend a lot of my days in committee work as well as others, but I also spend a lot of my days knocking on doors, trying to figure out where we can access money and funding, and to bring that forward so that we can find those ways, so that when we match these funds or we have other funds that come in, can we stack those, match them? And how do we get the maximum value for the residents of the Capital Region Service Commission area?
Yeah, and I need to clear, I'm not looking to take anyone's job, so I didn't raise this as a point of saying I didn't think both were necessary.
Yeah.
Work with both of you, I think given where we're at in an organization, the staffing is required. I'm saying I recall that conversation last budget season. And so coming forward, when I see the number, you're right, I have no interest in the minutia of getting it. You know your staff, you know what you need in staff, but we have to vote on the envelope of it, right? What it costs. So I think it's really fair for us to be asking questions about where this money is going to and what we can expect our residents to receive as a result of that expenditure. Like, we're not all here to pay money just to have an organization. We all want deliverables from that organization. So my council was just trying to figure out, when we're looking at these numbers, what comes as a deliverable. So that's why I asked at the staff level, I'm like, so what does come from that? And so thank you for that explanation. I appreciate
And
that.
Mayor Rogers, through you, Madam Chair, Director Rogers, if you will. In that, I think, as our Chief Financial Officer said, 2023 wasn't the year to base much on, because that budget happened and it was bestowed upon us really without knowing what that future looked like and what the resources would really be required and things like that. So we're using a facilitator that, while very knowledgeable and a good person, it would have been maybe best to develop it from a more grassroots level if possible. So now that we have a budget that is more organic to the organization, I think, within that, we'll see this, we'll see the organization develop those strategic plans, those key areas, decide what are the key areas of priority and focus, bring those plans forward to the board for approval, and the communities or the entities of the Capital Region Service Commission will be fully informed on how all of that is, and then you'll see the benefit of those resource allocations. But don't forget, not to pick on Brett, but I will, because he's a good guy with broad shoulders. So, but we lowered the allocation within solid waste, and it increased over here. So, is it a true, an increase of cost? Well, in terms of how do you look at it, because those costs are being attributed to the areas that he's truly working. So we're, very much professional accounting standards is what we're trying to achieve, and to give everyone a realistic picture of what's happening in the organization.
Okay.
Thank you.
Director David Plitzky, did you want to add something?
Through you, Madam Chair, I have a question for Mary Kay. The $600,000 reflects the CPI.
No, that's different than what we amended was, because the CPI was the member contributions from 2023 plus 4%, and that's how the member contributions were anticipated. 515,000 of that $600,000 increase is coming from the Regional Services Support Fund. So the additional member charges that we required are 97,000, and that's what you're voting on. Based on the amended motion.
Okay, so it's only the 97,000 that we are asked for.
That's the increase. to the
Over and
member
above.
increase.
And that's what we had asked for in the amendment, basically. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
I've been listening, a couple of things have come up that I'll say again, is our strategic plan is a living, working document which we can change. And that's like, we banged around here a long time for that, but that could be, we can change that any meeting per se. And as far as the mandated services, again, we look at the ones that we can do. And then send back, if you want us to do more, you better send us some more money. Because you haven't done it in 30 years, so there's no way we're gonna do it in a year. And be pointly blank honest with them. Matter of fact, I haven't heard anything of government reform from the new minister. In fact, they canceled one meeting and got in a whole mess of thing with hotel bills. Because they canceled it late. I mean, the guy that was running the Denny and Land, he's gone. The deputy minister who did all the work, they moved him to education. Now the poor sucker's gotta, follow up on that. So we're trying to do all their work for them with less money. And they had a whole pocket full of money that they had $1 billion surplus. So now they're trying to do us nickel and dime all these projects. We can't do it. And you gotta say it to them. It can't be done. Very simple.
So everyone around,
May I ask another question? It's about the funding that's coming to the province. That was a 5-year funding.
It's now, Mayor Rogers, it's in the Community Funding Act, and it's in regulation as well. So it's not a 5-year limited window, it is continuing, it's actually in the act.
So it's not, so that was the latest, the memo that we just received, so it was in the act, there was no timeline?
In terms of,
I thought that there was a timeline on how long.
originally it was expressed that there was going to be a 5-year transitional phase to it.
Mhm.
And now it's in the Community Funding Act and Regulation 2023, something 58. I think I have it written on one of the sheets there. I'll certainly give it to you. It's in the Community Funding Act and Regulation 2023-35.
So that is guaranteed, because I think that was another one of my council's concerns, is that we have a budget that's premised on this money coming from the province. And what about when that dries up? So what I'm hearing you say is we never foresee that drying up.
If I may, Madam Chair, to you, Director Rogers, it's in the act, we take a bill of government to change it.
Dr. Cleveland?
Thank you. Said no comment on it, but I'm gonna just reiterate what I said a couple other meetings. Because I'm sometimes trying to feel. We can be unhappy with mandates being passed out, we can be unhappy with the will of the government. We have legislative impacts, mandates being passed to us, and I'm a firm belief that I'd like to use my agency as an elected official representing our community. I'd love to see all others around this board who do and care about the community and the region we live in, to use our agency to try to get some of these things right. When we tackle problems, we're not going it on your own. I don't have staff in Arcadia to help build them to support these mandated areas. Doesn't happen. We don't have staff. I have limited capability and time myself to do the same thing. I will be leaning on this service commission to help us get this right. Help us get transportation. Help us get the things right that are being passed upon us, whether we like it or not. But I have tendency to believe that we have a seat at the table, we can voice, and we have some tools and people to work with. We have an opportunity to make it a little bit better, and then go to the obviously show them the following.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? No, so now I'm going to ask for the question on the revised motion. Ready for the question?
Yes.
On the revised motion. So we'll do,
Mary Kay has the magic spreadsheet, Madam
oh,
Chair.
okay,
Director Cleveland.
Yeah.
Director Forsythe.
Yes.
Director Duplessis.
Yes.
Director Rogers.
I know. Because I'm the, I have to vote.
nay,
Yeah. I'm
okay,
trying to
no,
determine-
no,
Yes, I'm
no
being completely
no
honest.
further comments. Yeah, yay or nay, and you're voting nay, okay, no problem.
Director Hart.
Yay.
Director Richardson.
Nay.
Director Morrison.
Yeah.
Director Flory.
Yeah.
Director Fox.
Nay.
Director Sweeney.
Yeah.
Director Powell.
Nay.
Director Hayward.
Yes.
Director Maury.
No.
And Director Wilson.
Nay,
Madam Chair, the motion is defeated.
the motion is defeated, okay? So now we will go back to the original.
No,
No.
Madam Chair, the motion is defeated. If I might talk about process as we go forward.
Yes, please.
As a result of this, staff will meet at its earliest convenience with the finance committee. Take direction from them to develop a new budget that hopefully this board will be able to support. Once that work is complete, we'll come back to the board. And if the board is of such a mind, that budget will be forwarded to the communities for another 45-day review period. And hopefully at the end of that period, the board will be in a position to adopt that budget. So the other two motions that are on the agenda are dependent upon the passing of a budget, and so we won't be dealing with them this evening. And Motion to adjourn would be appropriate.
Sorry, I need a motion to adjourn, please. Out loud. Second by
Second and fourth one.